everybody, to the WREC Last Chance Qualifier, where we are going to say goodbye to another team today. But we also have spots for Barcelona on the line, just like yesterday, where Viv would be upset by Team Dark. We all thought Viv were going to take it after being really strong in the open bracket, but their downfall has continued, and Team Dark, they bring out the Rammus support in one game. They're able to play game 3 very clean, calm, and collected, and Team Dark advanced to a showdown today to see if they can get to Barcelona. Our second game of the day was a little bit more about what we were expected. Team Queso versus Control, and while we all love Control, Team Queso just seemed to be a step ahead, really putting the pressure on, going 2-0 past Control and making sure that their chances of getting to a home finals are still alive. We're looking for those last few spots. Let's see who's going to take him as we get into the WREC.
Welcome to the official WREC Games WREC EMEA Championship.
Everybody round here know we get hype. Everybody round, 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 everybody round here know we get hype.
Welcome everybody to the WREC. Is it a bump? It is a bumper day of games. I don't even have to ask that question. I know it's going to be a long day of games. You've got 3 best of 3s coming up today as I'm Stress, joined by Hell's Devil and Stuart for what should be a really fun day. I think this is our first real test of like how much endurance can we get through in a day, and I'm looking forward to it. Stuart, I know you're always hyped for Wild Rift action, so potential 9 games today.
9 games of Wild Rift. Ooh. Barcelona spots up for grabs. Playing stage, main stage. We got everything today. It's probably the most important day out of them all.
All the stages, all the action. So let's take a look at the bracket and we can run through exactly where we are. Hells, you and I were watching the games yesterday, saw 2 of our teams go home. Control, unfortunately, dropping out right there. That's heartbreaking for us. We're all big Control stands.
Yeah, definitely. Team Dark and Team Queso winning, and we expected Team Queso to win. Like as I said, right, we voted with our brains, but we wanted KTRL to win with our hearts. But we knew Team Queso would outskill them and win the game. But yeah, it is unfortunate. But yeah, the winners go on, losers they lose. They'll come back later, Stress.
At some point we may see them. We of course are waiting to hear what'll happen after all of Icons and everything, but for now they're out of the running to get to Barcelona, which means they're out of the running for Icons. 2 teams still in the running, WREC, GG and Formulation. Of course, they've already got their spot at Barcelona. We need to see who's going to the group stage, who's going into the play-in stage. We'll explain that as we go through the day, and here are the 3 series we have for you today. Team Dark versus Team Queso to start off. That's in the lower bracket. Then we go to the upper bracket for WREC versus Formulation. And our final match of the day is going to be a Barcelona play-ins qualifier between Talented Ones and Unicorns of Love. Our first time of seeing both of those teams. So excited to see what some of the mainstays of Europe, especially in Unicorns of Love, have for us. So there's a lot of action. There's a lot of things to keep track of today. And while we focus in on our lower bracket and upper bracket, you can see where we predicted. I'm going to guess we're kind of going across the board. Yeah, okay. Yeah. We've cast a curse to everybody today. I mean, Stu, it's rare for us to have this kind of unanimous opinion. Here's where we get the curses going.
Okay, so basically, if anything was up for grabs, it's going to be Team Dark winning today and Formulation winning today. I think all of us have cast a curse, both Team Queso and WREC. But yeah, I think the predictions are kind of, you could say, obvious in a way. I think both Team Queso and WREC are stronger, but it's just proven, especially yesterday, that teams can still upset.
They can still upset. Unfortunately for Control, it wasn't meant to be. With Viv as well. Yeah, that's the thing about Control is they're kind of like equal opportunity memers. They want to make sure that they include the other unfortunate people with Viv there. So Stuart, we're going to say goodbye to you for now as we get closer to our first series today. Hells, you and I can jump into a little bit about those last spots for Barcelona, because there's some confusion, right? So when we get to Barcelona, we have a group stage, which is basically the final stage, and there's a play-in stage, which is for the final spot of the 6 teams. That play-in stage will, of course, be between the winner of our first game and the winner of our third game of the day. So it's kind of confusing. But 2 spots left. That's the important thing.
That's right. Well, like there's 2 spots left to go to Barcelona, and then it basically depends on the seeding, as you said. If you win in the loser final, you go to the group stage immediately. Otherwise, you have to play the play-ins against the winner of the 3rd series. So you basically have to go through one more series, but you'll be in Barcelona anyways. And I'm sure it's all about that for the team stress.
Yeah, I probably made a mistake in the way that I was saying. I feel like you covered what I was trying to say there. So when we look at 2 spots left, that means we get to look at some of the other news coming into today. We, of course, will be looking at WREC coming back onto the Rift. I think that's very exciting. They've had themselves a very strong performance when it comes to the way they played the meta. What are your feelings on the rest of the teams as we head towards Barcelona?
Well, yeah, I'm just incredibly excited because we have some very good teams going to Barcelona. We shouldn't be forgetting about Game Lord, of course, which we haven't seen anything from in the recent patch because, of course, they already won. They don't have to play. So I think it's going to be super exciting. And I think it's going to be perhaps a bit closer than we think. If WREC doesn't just dominate everything, stress. Yeah,
that's a fair point. And then if we jump into a particular role for the players left, I think we're focused so much on the duo lane. I think, you know, we want to see more of the hyper carries. We didn't really see so much from Kranix yesterday. We haven't seen much from Joey, but I think the opportunity is still there, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like, we want to see it. And we know that it works as well. Because here we can see the clip playing right now. Doom getting a pentakill on Jinx. But obviously it depends on the game plan, right? Like, each team has a different game plan. And WREC really focuses on Doom a lot. And well, if we look at Team Queso, for example, they focus a lot on Acolyte on the top side of the map. So they're not going to be putting as much of a damage carry on Joey. They'll put more of a supporting carry as Morgana, right? But I want them to change plans a little bit as well. Because you're not going to beat WREC you're not going to beat WREC like this, basically.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of alluded to it already with Doom. Like, he's had 2 pentakills on these AD carries. I think it's you know, they've been the most exciting team to watch so far. So I think that's where our focus is obviously going to be. But we've spent a lot of time focusing in the rest of the WREC on top. We said, like, hey, top laners carry so much. I think we've started to see some of them fall off. Like yesterday, we really didn't see a fantastic performance from Millip, from Viv. I hate to kind of drive the knife in a little bit more there, but I think we have seen how this shift towards bottom lane, some teams just haven't really dealt with it as well as we were expecting. So lots of interesting stuff on the lead up to Barcelona. We still obviously have 3 best-of-3 series today and then some series tomorrow to get through before we actually get to Barcelona. But I think the meta has been one of the most interesting things. Some teams have been really reluctant to pick up those AD carries, and I'm not quite sure why.
Oh, I know why. Because first of all, it's way more fun to play AD carries, and I'm sure, right? Like, sure, you want to win, but you also want to have some fun, right? And playing AD carries is just so much more fun than playing those boring mages or playing the Corki. And I'm sure these teams know that as well, but they're just trying to make it work, right? They're not just randomly going to be picking ADCs. You have to have a proper game plan for it. And up until now, I believe we've only really seen WREC execute it to a way that they just dominated the game.
I totally agree with you. Like, it feels like the WREC are one step ahead. Every time I say that, though, that's always when WREC. This is why I don't always predict WREC, because I'm like, every time I'm ready to believe in the hype train, like the finals against Game Lord happens. I know Snitch is going to give me a lot of crap for that. But anyway, before I start digging my grave with WREC any deeper, let's head over to Stuart and hear his key points for the first series of the day.
Thank you very much, Stress. Yes, these are my key points for Team Dark versus Team Queso. A lot on the line for these 2 teams. Whoever wins will book their tickets to Barcelona, and whoever loses are out of the tournament. But what side of Team Dark will we see? We know that Team Dark are a bit of a coin flip team. They've beaten teams like Viv Esports, like yesterday. They looked really, really strong. But sometimes they have looked a little bit shaky as well. So it'll be interesting to see what side of Team Dark we will be able to see. We're going to be talking about Veos on Assassins as well. We've seen how much Veos can do on Akali. And honestly, I feel like it's a must ban for Team Dark. You have to get rid of Akali, get rid of Veos, kind of reduce his champion pool a little bit. Because I feel like even though we focus a lot on top side with Team Queso, your likes of Acolyte and also Andreas in the jungle, I think Veos has definitely stepped up and he's proven to be one of the best mid laners in the tournament. And then we can't talk about Team Dark without talking about the man in the support role, Juicy. the amount of pocket picks this guy has brought up has been absolutely amazing to watch. A Mumu before, Sona, we saw Ramos support yesterday as well. They were able to pick up a victory. So maybe in game number 1 today, we might see a few more pocket picks from Juicy. I'm not too sure what else he has up his sleeve, but will be interesting to watch. But this is a big game. Team Dark against Team Queso. The winner goes to Barcelona. Let's head back to Stress and Hells.
Thank you, Stuart. Yeah, big game in this first one. And I'll be honest, I think people are probably going to start painting me as a bit of a Team Dark hater because I'm always like, oh, I feel like they're not as consistent or this, and they keep winning. I actually find them really enjoyable to watch, though. There is a real intrigue onto, like, what are they going to pick? Because I think Team Dark on red side just have this weird flexibility around Juicy and Mario that teams can't really prepare for.
Yeah, I absolutely love watching Team Dark. You know, after they picked that Ramos support, it instantly became one of my favorite teams. You know, seeing a team being so bold and just picking Ramos support. I mean, they did Amumu support before as well. You know, picking it and pulling it off, that's like that gets my total respect. And then now they're actually nearly qualified for Barcelona as well. Absolutely amazing team. Definitely one of my favorites to watch as well, Stress.
Yeah, I agree. And as we look at the lineup, I think one of the things that I kind of am gaining more respect from them is, like, whenever they pull out one of these picks, there's always a reason behind it, right? It's always like, okay, they don't have armor shred, and that mix between Mario and 201 Juicy, as we know him. That bot lane, kind of like that versatility, really throws a lot of teams. On the other side, the Team Queso, I think, have a very clear playstyle. Andre in the jungle, everybody on the team basically plays for top side of the map, and Andre carries a lot of the game. So if you're new to watching Team Queso, expect them to pick a carry jungler, expect them to put a lot of resources towards it.
And that is the problem that you have as Team Queso. So as good as the team may be, it's very one-dimensional, right? Like, as you said, Andres goes to top lane, Vegos picks an assassin, or he goes for Gragas, and that's how they play. They'll pull it off. Even if you know that they pick it, they will still win against you. But picking that against a team like Team Dark, who we know how unpredictable they can be, we know how strong they can be in the drafting phase, I feel maybe a bit dangerous for Team Queso. Like, if there is one team that can beat out Team Queso, it would be Team Dark.
I totally get that, and I do agree. I think that when you have inflexibility against, like, total flexibility, it's always a very strange matchup, because, like, if Queso come in and they really heavily smash through their composition, I don't think it really matters what Team Dark do. If Andre gets ahead, he's going to snowball. But if Queso never get Andre going, then that's where Team Dark can have these games where they can make it crazy. They can make it really scrappy and fight all the time. The funny thing was, I thought that was the only way that Team Dark could play up until Game 3 yesterday, which was really clean. Like, Game 3 yesterday against Viv was really well played, and I actually gained a lot of respect in that moment as well for Team Dark. The way they played the macro game was really good.
Yeah, they're showing that they have it all, right? Like, they can do the unpredictable drafts, but they can also just beat teams out the conventional way, just outplay them macro-wise, because they absolutely did against a team like Viv Esports, who we know is an incredibly good macro team, right? We constantly kept talking about it. So they really have it all, Stress. I just feel like they have a few inconsistencies, which make them a bit of a coin flip team, as you mentioned. But if they fix those, like, Dark is going to be an incredibly good team, Stress.
Yeah, I agree with you. And they're definitely like an innovative team when we look at it, rather than a refining team. So that's one of the things when we've heard from Mario in interviews. He's like, well, we practiced this in scrims, but our actual scrim practice itself wasn't that great this week. So those are the things that I want to see Team Dark how in the next month, you know, in a world where we're envisioning they make Barcelona with some extra time, how they would do that. Now, importantly, for game 1 of this series, Team Dark are on blue side. So some of that flexibility will not be available for them right away, because they don't have last pick. They can't be like, okay, we've seen your entire comp and we have this one support that's going to screw you up.
Yeah, that seemed to be like a really big thing for Team Dark, right? Like, normally it's just a last pick, you know, just to counter out some stuff. But for Team Dark, it's like just flipping around the whole composition, picking Ramos support and going 3-0 on 1 with it and just absolutely hard carrying the game. So indeed, like, I would say this is already a tiny win for Team Queso starting
Yeah.
out the draft on red side, right? Like, because that is truly how scary Team Dark is in the draft strats.
Yeah, and we've seen this historically. I mean, later today, we're going to see Unicorns of Love. Their Wild Rift team, of course, separate to their PC League of Legends team. But back in the day, in the EU LCS, so I'm the old man, going to bring up old stories. They were terrifying to play against because you never knew what they were going to do. There were champions in PC like Shaco. They would randomly run these champions that don't get competitive play, that have really niche use cases, but that do very effectively when they draft it into a comp. And that's what that Rammus did. Is it's like, okay, you have no real way of beating tanks. I can utilize the mobility when my AD carry is safe in lane. I can rush top, get 2 kills, okay, be in the river, force you out. And there's a real like intelligence behind that I love to see from Team Dark. I think when we swap up and look at the standard meta, I'm not expecting too much different from this game. Unfortunately, Joey is playing mages a lot more for this, like playing towards Andre style. So I think we'll see the usual like Ziggs ban, Varus ban if it comes to it. But outside of that, I think there's not going to be too much focus. It's likely jungle that we see Team Dark focus out.
Yeah, definitely. Like they're not gonna be banning out those AD carries because they don't have to, right? And as I said, that is the problem that you have as Team Queso. But then what I would expect from Team Queso is to potentially have like a different plan, like Plan B, basically. Not only Plan A, but also a Plan B, where they do pull off the AD carries, where they do put Acolyte on the weak side top lane, where Andres does roam around to Joey. And I'm not quite sure whether we'll see it, but I really think they have to bring it out, Stress.
I would like to see that. Even if just for one game, I would love to see like how do Queso look when they're playing for Joey, because I think it will take teams that have prepared specifically for Andre by surprise. If you draft him something that just can be low economy from the jungle, that doesn't require all of these resources to carry. So draft 1 of the game or of the series. Olaf off the board. It's one of the picks that Andre has picked. Typically, we've seen Queso go that way with a Yumi, but not for today. I mean, Team Dark also struggled a little bit yesterday against Tyrus' Olaf. They bungled an Elder Drake that perhaps should not have gone away from them. And Karma, this is going to be banned every single game today. I would not be surprised to see Karma banned the entire if we go 9 games.
Yeah, there was one game, I believe, where she didn't get banned. And then after that, everyone's like, okay, screw it, we're just going to ban her every game. I thought it was going to happen from the beginning already, but it seemed like a team wanted to try it out, as in like wanted to try out, give it to the enemy. But no, that's not going to happen anymore.
That's a bad plan.
There it is, Stress. This is what we're expecting, the Akali bans. Akali, Gragas ban. I'm definitely expecting Team Dark to take away Gragas or to first pick him, one of the two, because we saw Vegas on Gragas. But you know what the problem is about this player? You know what the problem is about Vegas? And I'm saying problem, but it's what he's shining at. He can play it all. He can do it all. Like, he can just play some other stuff. He's going to pull off the Twisted Faith, or he's going to play Orianna in the mid. And whatever he plays, he's good at, Stress.
Yeah, he certainly isn't. And I definitely, I know you started by saying it's a problem. I think we ended up in the situation where we're like, it's a problem for Team Dark more than anything. Gragas is available as Camille has been taken off the board. We know Acolyte has been first picking that wherever it's been available, so no surprises that you would expect Elegy to do that as well on the side of Team Dark. Camille is just really strong right now.
Yeah, definitely. Camille's really strong, and every team pretty much first picks Camille. But right now, the priority lies on Gragas. If Team Dark was watching Team Queso's games yesterday and saw what Vegas did on the Gragas, they start with a Ziggs, and I feel that's a bit dangerous. Because first of all, Gragas does well into Ziggs, and now you're opening up the whole draft with a Ziggs up against a team like Team Queso. They can just pick some strong picks against Ziggs, Stress.
And this is the one team I wouldn't expect. Good call on the Gragas. This is the one team I wouldn't expect to be picking up the Ziggs. It's Team Dark that are doing it. Normally, Team Dark leave their bot lane for later and don't play standard, and they pick up what works in the moment. This time they've opted into, okay, we're going to assume Mario the Ziggs and play a little bit more standard on the bot side of the map. So we'll see whether they're trying to leverage the fact that Team Queso play away from Joey, but Joey matches it in the draft. Picking up the Varus, I have to expect it's going to be AD Varus. We saw AP Varus yesterday, but it really didn't do what was needed for Viv. And now Team Dark go for the Rakan. A good, strong bottom lane, but very standard for Team Dark.
Yeah, I was just about to say the Rakan, right? Like, it's such an obvious pick for Team Dark right there. Although I still feel it's a bit dangerous to pick it into the composition of Team Queso, because the Varus pick is amazing, right? Like, they're basically baiting the Rakan pick right here, because Rakan goes in, and you ult with Varus. But I see your face right there. I think you want to talk about the Yasuo.
That's a Yasuo blind into mid lane, unless they're assuming that Varus is going to be playing the Gragas. Now, of course, Gragas can flex between 4 roles. We saw a Yasuo. Was it? Yes, it was yesterday, right?
Yeah. With the Wukong.
Yeah, I feel like it did okay, but it didn't do much. Like I feel like was it Qingxi that played it 1 mid? I think it may very well have been, and it was okay, but they didn't really make it. Yeah. They did well individually. The comp didn't work is the problem, and with that Galio, I think Galio is going to absorb a lot of what the Rakan and what the Ziggs want to throw out. And now I feel like Team Dark are constantly drafting into, as you've already said, a comp that Queso are prepared for.
Definitely, and Team Queso obviously banning out the Wukong because that is like the single best champion to play with a Yasuo. Now the Malphite is probably gonna be left open, right? The Malphite. I don't think we're gonna see Malphite because it just in the current draft, especially in competitive games, Malphite just doesn't work. The new items are so good against a champion like Malphite. I just don't think he's gonna work.
Yeah, and I think the other factor is like Queso will draft, I would imagine, their jungle on 4 and leave their top lane matchup for last, because that means if you see a Malphite, you just pick something that can deal with a Malphite and just kind of like walk away and be like, all right, you've built one wombo combo team. All we have to do is avoid it.
And the Graves got banned from Team Dark, and then the response from Team Queso was to ban away Xin Zhao. I understand that because Graves is one of the champions that absolutely destroys Xin Zhao. So Team Dark was basically preparing to pick the Xin Zhao for themselves because he's an incredibly strong jungler. Also with his ultimate, he can combo it with Yasuo's ultimate if you didn't know already. So that's a great ban from Team Queso. But right now, what the hell is Team Dark gonna pick? I wouldn't know because a lot of junglers got banned. Yet again, like this, I believe 7 junglers got banned. Kha'Zix is open.
Kha'Zix, Fiora are open. We've seen some Riven. It's going to be Kha'Zix. This makes total sense for Andre. Now that leaves Team Dark in a rough situation, right? We've just gone through a few that have been banned. Now we have to see does Team Dark have something weird from Sync's perspective, which we've seen Sync play a lot of standard stuff. He's not been the player on Team Dark that has been playing off meta.
Yeah, and Stress, I really love this Kha'Zix pick, by the way. I especially love this Kha'Zix pick. So if you look at the draft that Team Queso has right now, the Gragas Kha'Zix, that's always basically a golden combination. Separate the enemies with the explosive casket, and then Kha'Zix picks them off. So Team Queso has really done a good job. And also the Galio, when he ults, you want to run away. I do like the counter picks from Team Dark as well, but I just don't feel they have the composition for the Yasuo Stress. I just don't feel they have enough knockups to reliably land and get a really good game-changing Yasuo ultimate out of it.
I mean, they're relying on Javan and then Rakan combo, right? Because Flag and Drag will count as a knockup. Rakan dash-in will count as a knockup as well. Now we have to see from Team Queso's side, they bring a team-fighting top laner from it. So we know Darius is going to get outscaled by Fiora, but it's also one of Acolyte's top picks. It brings now Team Queso's ability to team fight back into it, because if you can just apprehend that Yasuo away, stop him from getting more than, one attempt at a play into the team fight, maybe there's a way that you can continue and last through that. So there's team fighting on both sides. I feel like Team Queso's comp on paper, a little bit more standard, a little bit more towards what we expect. I think this Yasuo from Team Dark was forced, but if there's one thing I've come to learn from Team Dark, this is the moment where normally they come out and figure out a way to prove us a little bit like we weren't seeing something. We didn't see it yesterday. We'll see whether we can see it today. As a Yasuo in Game 1 is at least a lot more interesting than if we were playing a standard meta game. Yeah, I didn't want to say Corki. Everyone's calling me out for calling Corki boring, but I'm happy with the Yasuo game.
Yeah, definitely. And honestly, I feel like Team Dark played in the hands of Team Queso right there. Team Queso basically got whatever they wanted. They got Vegas on the Gragas. They got Andres on a strong jungler. They got Acolyte on the Darius in a decent draft for Darius as well. It's going to be hard for Team Dark to play, because even if you know the game plan of Team Queso, which we all do, which the teams all do, Stress, this is going to be a hard one, because you're playing against Team Queso on very strong champions.
Yeah, and you alluded to the draft from Team Dark playing into the Darius. 4 of the champions from Team Dark want to be dashing forward and dashing in and being in melee range and like putting themselves right next to Darius. And that is where Darius loves to have you. And it's Team Dark versus Team Queso. Winner of this will advance to Barcelona, at least in some fashion. Loser will be going home. So there's an attempt in mid lane by Juicy. look to try and burn the summoner from Veos, whereas on the top side, it's going to be Methanaut that's looking for this. Has Acolyte skilled Apprehend? I know Stuart was talking about this yesterday, at least on his stream, and messaged me about it. He's like, why, if you're going to put your support top side, don't skill ability 1. Or what was it, Hells? I think it might have been you, right?
No, I said it.
Sorry, I credited Stuart. Stuart doesn't know that.
No, of course he does. But yeah, exactly. Like, why would you do that? Oh, and Juicy's going in.
Yeah, Methanaut's caught them both. I know Stuart's mad at me now. But Juicy goes in, Methanaut catches them both with the taunt. There's this Veos and that one mid. I think this is going to be a really interesting mid laner, even though it's Gragas there as well. Yeah, I love seeing anybody pick out these different picks, like one mid or Chingsi as he registered himself as. On this Yasuo, I mean, he's got a lot of work to do, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's for sure, especially in this game. And as Sync is going to start to look for a gank, Vegas can clearly see that he's here. But playing Yasuo into a Gragas is a bit hard stressed because he's constantly going to be dashing out those barrels. And I just feel Team Dark is going to have a real struggle, although they are roaming around to the scuttle. One mid is helping him out. Oh, they're actually going for the gank as well.
Yeah, this is against a Darius, not quite level 3. Has both summoners available though, so Acolyte reads this play and is backing away very early on. One thing I will say about the Yasuo is he does block a lot of Gragas' abilities, right, with the Wind Wall. 4 members up here, force the flash out. Good flash from Acolyte, but a good attempt nonetheless from Team Dark to make sure the pressure goes on. Now they're going to go back in as Elegy finds himself right next to Acolyte. That flag and drag did not connect from Sync, so they can't really continue here. And does this mean that Andre is just getting to power farm through his own jungle?
He gets to power farm through his own jungle, but they're denying so much farm from Team Queso right here, Stress. Look at that massive wave. You may be thinking that time is being wasted, but they go back in.
Double knockup actually connects as Methanaut drops low. Will go back in with the Justice Punches. Elegy is trying to get the Vitals to proc. The flash forward does get Elegy out for now. It's not enough with the hemorrhage stacks as Acolyte has to be careful. There's still 3 people there, despite the fact one of them is low health. No kill converted, but a lot of summoners used from Elegy and Acolyte there.
That was actually a pretty good win from Team Dark right there, Stress. Even though it may have looked like a time waste, it really wasn't, because they waste so much time for Team Queso, but Team Queso is going to try to go for the invade then.
Yeah, Andre is level 5 here, so we'll be able to if he needs it yet. Jumps over, gets the steal, Sync, goes back in, not level 5 himself, doesn't have Cataclysm, not isolated, does get the first blood for Andre as the flash comes out over the wall. Now Veos is the one in a little bit of danger here. Methanaut comes across, so does Acolyte, and it buys the time for Team Queso to back themselves out. If you're a Queso fan, Andre getting first blood is exactly what you want to see.
And this is why you don't mess with Team Queso, and although they are messing with Vegas.
Yeah, Veos now caught out. Double taunt is going to buy him some time. Flash out over the wall will disengage the situation.
Yeah, there it is. Vegas can just disengage. But yeah, this is what I was saying. It was actually a decent win for Team Dark right there because they denied so much farm from Acolyte. As you can see, Acolyte is behind 400, actually 400 gold. So that's a lot of gold, Stress. And there is also a wave under the turret of Team Dark. So you can clearly see that Team Dark did a great job at getting Acolyte behind. But still, you're up against Andres in the jungle. He took his own jungle and then he invaded as well because he knew Jarvan was weak. They only got Elegy ahead on the Fiora, but then Team Queso played it perfectly. They invaded, they got the kill, and they stole away the blue buff, which got Andres ahead by 900 gold already, Stress.
Yeah, and part of the top lane play there is like Elegy actually just cut a corner, which was very risky if Acolyte is still there. Is like Acolyte basically 1v1'd him down, forced him away, but bringing Juicy up to the top lane allowed them to collect the wave he would have missed. And that means that Team Dark maintain that top lane play. It's bottom lane that we're looking though is Andre is going to find Juicy. Isolated damage. All too easy for Andre, but he will drop on the back end. That kill actually goes over to Juicy as Methanaut's going to go back in. Does manage to flash himself out as Joey is here on the Varus. It's short range though, so Varus doesn't like being in that situation. Out comes the bouncing bomb, does take him down. Veos now looking for Sync, looking for the damage. Explosive cask is enough with the barrel roll to be able to pick another one up as Mario. Oh, he's got 2 low health targets. The body slam connects. No way does he survive through that. Veos on 1 health. Picks up the kill.
Oh, and that hurts, Mario. I felt that one as well. Both of them were at 1 health. He tried to go for the cheesy flash play, but Vegas doing a beautiful job with his second ability, effectively denying a percentage of the damage dealt. Unbelievable. Oh, that one hurts for Team Dark Stress.
It certainly does, and it's going to continue to hurt as Andre. I thought he was going to go up there, but couldn't find the at least opportunity to go in on Juicy from that. And I think maybe we're slowing down for a second. Although I say that, one mid looking to dash forward on this Yasuo. You've always got to be careful whenever there's a Yasuo. Next time that Cataclysm and that Flag and Drag combo comes up for Team Dark, I'm expecting them to go aggressive. They just got Divine Sundra on Fiora as well, so they're building time for Elegy to get really into this game. Acolyte has gone tier 2 boots, no item yet. He has not recalled to complete his first item of the game, and we're heading into a Rift Herald fight. That might be a bad call.
But even though that's the case, like Acolyte is weak, if we look at Andres' build, the Duskblade of Draktar Stress, right? Like compared to the build that Sync has on Jarvan, the Duskblade is an incredibly strong early game item. And I love that pickup from Andres because that basically doesn't allow Team Dark to fight. Of course, Acolyte with only one tiny item is going to be a bit of a weakness, but he's going to be playing as a tank more.
It's because he's gone like immediate Proto Belt before first item. Veos is going to get deleted from the map to start this one off, and Queso can't get there. Is that immediate Proto Belt because he feels under threat, or because he just wants to Proto Belt apprehend people and let Andre get the kill? Do you think
he wants to Proto Belt apprehend the people, right? Like the whole game plan, the whole game plan of Team Queso is to separate Team Dark, and the Proto Belt is going to allow Darius to get close and separate one member. So I feel like that's exactly what they're trying to do. Because if we look at their side, Andres is incredibly powerful. Goes for the BF sword as well, which is not the most conventional item. I'm wondering which item he's going for with that. Perhaps the Yumos. I don't know, actually. I don't know which item he's going for, but this is a massive tier 2 item. It gives you 40 attack damage, and add to the attack damage that the Duskblade gives you as well. This is basically an incredibly big power spike for Andres, and I can tell you he's going to be making some aggressive plays right there, because the damage that he's about to deal is huge.
Yeah, completely. I mean, I think it's Bloodthirst, the Stormrazor Eye Edge built out of BF sword and a GA. Okay. Yeah, there's a lot. It could also be GA. Ghostblade, I think, is double lethality, right? It's the cooldown and Dirk. Unless they changed it. Who knows? I don't play jungle. I don't play a whole lot of Ghostblade champions anyway. So Andre, we'll see the damage come from him out in general as Andre jumps himself back. Rift Herald popped in the bottom lane. They have Veos here to disengage if they want. And Methanaut is going to land that taunt, force the flash out as the knockup comes through, but I don't think you want that engaged, as now they're going to go under the tower. Does get the Decimate and the Execution. Team Queso, they're starting to ramp up a little bit of the pressure in this game. That Rift Herald charged, but did not get the tower in bottom lane.
It did not get the tower, which is a good win from Team Dark if they're able to defend towers, but they go in.
Chains land, Juicy backs himself out, gets away with his life. Now in comes Elegy. He's got two pretty squishy targets in front of him if he can find the damage. Andre, that is as close as it's going to go. Sync had his flash and his ultimate available, but Andre did get away with that with his life. First Tower Blood does go down in the top lane. Again, Queso advancing their lead. Now it's in exchange for the dragon, though.
I don't think they can do this.
Yeah, I think Queso can collapse in time. Elegy doesn't quite riposte enough from that as Sync goes in. There's a double knockup. Oh, the flash out already from Veos keeps him safe, and that means his Yasuo didn't have the damage, but they split Team Queso, and Joey has fallen from this. One mid will drop, and now the Kha'Zix is going to just run rampage through the fight. Picks up the triple kill. It's exactly what we've come to expect from Team Queso. Everything going their way.
And that's exactly what we talked about, Stress. Team Dark did a great job in that team fight, but when it's about separating those enemies, which happened, all of Team Dark was separated, Andres just destroyed all of them. As you can see right here, for some reason Team Dark thought that they could start the dragon, which of course didn't work. And then Joey in the backline doing a great job baiting them into there. But then look at Andres. Everyone is isolated. Everyone. You see? Boom, that's one kill. Then Sync. Boom, that's another kill. Isolated. Mario isolated as well. Boom, that's another kill. And this is the problem that Team Dark has in this game right now, because you cannot fight like this, Stress. You cannot fight against Team Queso like this, because it literally buffs the damage by Kha'Zix by 110%. It's not double the damage, it's more than double the damage that you take from the first ability.
It is a considerable amount. There's going to be a Cyrilda's Grudge picked up there for...
Yeah, he just got a BF sword. He just got it for the mid-game power spike, yeah.
He just wants some damage. I'm going to have to be careful, otherwise I think T-Man's going to start thinking I'm stealing his gimmick on the old Kha'Zix. I'm going to have to retire that for myself. As Team Queso, I mean, we came into this saying, Queso, they play for their jungle. They're going to play for jungle. They get Kha'Zix in the second rotation, and it's doing exactly what we expect from this team, this lineup. Team Dark haven't been able to find the fight yet, but in goes the Cataclysm, met immediately with the flash and the Chains of Corruption. And now, once again, look at how split Team Dark are. Low health targets! Perfect shot from Joey is the double kill off one arrow. Splits him right down the middle as Andre is low. He's backing away. Elegy can't quite put the damage out. The jump comes through again from Andre, and oh my goodness, the apprehend is gonna really put the pressure onto Juicy now. He's trying to back away. That's the ace. One lost on the side of Queso, 5 kills picked up in return.
And Stress, this is what I mean. If Andres is not gonna hard carry the fight, you have Acolyte as well. And Acolyte was just a massive threat. And then Joey too this game. This game, it's not really Vegas doing the hard carrying, which we saw him do multiple games in a row. It's the other players. So we can clearly see Team Queso has it all. Every single player can do it. And then Methonaut, an incredible tank in the front line. So as we look into this replay, Team Dark just couldn't do anything. The only thing that happened, however, is Elegy singling out Vegas, right? Because Vegas is not that fat. As you can see, Elegy and Mario going on Vegas, getting the kill. But on the opposite side, Joey Skaggs, that double kill was beautiful and super satisfying. He just took away 2 kills from that Team Dark. And then Acolyte. Look at Acolyte. Besides Andres getting the kills, it's Acolyte that's posing a massive threat as well. Here he goes in with some crazy flash hook combo. And then they just kill 201 as well and get the turret. So the problem that you have as Team Dark is every one of Team Queso is super strong, Stress.
Yeah, everyone on Queso has not only like raw strength with the amount of damage they can output as well, but now they're starting to get solutions to the problems that Team Dark were giving them out of the draft. Like Edge of Night is going to prevent the knockup onto Joey. He's got the stasis as well to just kind of like weather through it. Joey, we didn't really talk about this either, but he brings the exhaust. Again, if that Yasuo comes towards you, exhaust goes down immediately. All of that damage drops off. There's no real damage dealer that has the ability to kill that many members of Team Queso. Because even if it's Elegy, exhaust is going to hit him immediately, and then the rest of Queso can clean it up. There's another target on its own. It's Elegy gets destroyed in the top lane. And that is going to be another 2 kills going over to Team Queso. They're ramping this game up. It looks like they are starting to take full control. 30 seconds on the neutral objectives. Baron would close this game out quite quickly for them off this Rift Herald.
Yeah, definitely. Vegas putting pressure on. He's coming from behind. Ooh, the Ziggs bomb trying to defend against the Rift Herald. They really need to kill this Rift Herald out. But yeah, massive win for Team Queso. They're 12,000 gold ahead. Stress. The Baron is spawning. The Dragon is spawning. This is just Team Queso's game right there. They're walking over Team Dark's composition right now. And as we look into the builds as well, we're actually going to look into the replay first. It's just Team Dark. They cannot do anything. Alligator desperately trying to get a kill right there, but he just gets ulted by Acolyte. And then Acolyte gets the full stacks and the team fight is already over. You have to retreat. And Mario on the Ziggs just doesn't have the damage yet, Stress. He really needs that 3-4 item power spike to kill that composition of Team Queso, because Methonaut on the Galio is just not gonna die. And then Acolyte on the Darius is incredibly tanky as well.
Oh, we're back into the fight. Elegy's already out of this fight. He's done. He's gone. That's it. Rampage for Joey. That's going to open up the position to push mid and then look to cut to an objective if they want. Even the W from Andre from a distance just did like a third of their health. In go Team Queso. This should be the last fight of the game, although it's a good performance on the backline to try and put the damage down. Methonaut does fall, but Andre is going to find low health targets. He's unstoppable. And if he had a little bit more health, you know he'd be jumping behind this turret. But it's all too patient. A spot at Barcelona is on the line, and Queso are going to look to close out game 1, at least in a comfortable position. They don't want to overforce this. We know Team Dark have it in them to be able to turn a game around.
Yeah, they're just not going to go for this third. Even though they could have probably gone for this third, they're not taking any risks, Stress. They're 14,000 gold ahead. And as I said, like, even though they could have probably taken this third, they're not doing it. And as we look into this replay, honestly, this fight went just as well as it could have for Team Dark, besides the Alligator pickoff. But right here, we had a beautiful engage from 201, a beautiful follow-up with the Yasuo ult, but it's still not enough, Stress. Methonaut doing a phenomenal job tanking that turret. He instantly used his stone plate. He did get caught off, however, but it was worth it. It was totally worth it. He was doing the tank, and as we said, right, if Andres had a bit more HP, he would have gone for that one.
100%. I think also his GA, I'm gonna leave that. Acolyte's gonna get engaged upon by the Rakan. Now, there's a lot of commit on this. I don't know that you have the damage to get through this Darius. This Darius is very tanky, has that death stance now as well as Methanol. He's looking for the multi-man taunt, looking for it in place if he can get it charged up, but it doesn't even matter. They don't even need it. Cataclysm is going to seal their fate as Acolyte is just going to rip his way through. That's Sync running for the hills. Only one member of Team Dark still alive, and Queso will push down bot and mid at the same time. Make sure they get double inhibitors. It may just be the end of the game.
You just can't win against Team Queso anymore at this point. Acolyte is way too far, Anders is way too far, and even Joey is way too ahead. Team Dark is just... They lost, basically. Methanol tanking the Nexus as well, doing his job. Sync is just sitting there, right? Like, I know we lost. And the game is over, Stress.
Team Dark falling game 1 to Team Queso, and it was... The comp was expected from Queso. It was exactly what you should prepare for against Queso, but it just turns out their playstyle is too strong for this Yasuo composition in game 1 from Team Dark. I don't think this series is completely over, but I feel like the draft went like completely an odd direction from Team Dark with that blind, or, you know, not necessarily blind, but the Yasuo into Gragas and then not really having the tools to let anybody carry.
Yeah, definitely, as we said, right? Like, the draft felt heavily in favor for Team Queso. And if you're playing Team Dark and lose the draft, you've already pretty much lost the first move on the chessboard, right? Like, the chessboard, they're basically playing a chessboard, and Team Dark is coming with the crazy tactics. And if you already lose the draft, which you really shouldn't as Team Dark, because Team Queso has the weakness in the draft. You just can't lose a draft to a team where you know how they're gonna play the game. You exactly know what they're gonna do. Their game plan is written on paper, but you still lose the draft as a team like Team Dark, who doesn't have any game plan. They have like a billion game plan, Stress.
Yeah, I think it's the funny thing, right, is even with like 7 jungle bans, Andre still gets Kha'Zix, right? And it's just like, how many jungle bans do you need before this guy doesn't have a champion that can just smash people when he plays it? I think the best teams against Team Queso are the ones that are like pushing them, for instance, through bottom lane, where we know that Team Queso don't put their resources, they don't put time down there. And I think if Team Dark want to bounce back into this, it's going to have to be Mario and Juicy getting resources and playing through bottom lane in order to take control of this game, in my opinion.
Yeah, exactly. And I hate to say it, but I'm expecting more of a core queue priority in the next games, because that is obviously a way to win the first objective fights and to get them the snowball that they need. Again, I don't want to see it, but that's what I'm expecting from Team Dark. But what I'm also expecting them to do is take the red side next game and come up with some crazy picks and ban away some of the power picks from Team Queso, right? And focus on that weak side bot lane. Focus on Joey Skeks and Methanol. Destroy that lane, because Andres doesn't. Andres is fully focused on Acolyte, Stress.
Yeah, it's exactly that. And you can see exactly the focus of Team Queso working with the fact that Acolyte 608, Andre 9-1 and 7. I think it's just, you know, the effect of how ahead they managed to get off the first couple of fights. Even though Acolyte was behind, playing then with Andre around him got Acolyte back into the game. Whereas between Sync and 1 mid, they were like 1 and 12 combined, because they only have one playstyle with Yasuo and Jarvan. And that's Jarvan goes in, Yasuo follows, and they didn't have the damage to pick off anybody. So once you're behind with that comp, there are no real other options that you can turn towards. It's like you play for the Fiora and the Ziggs late game, but if you can only engage and you're too squishy and you die, well, it's a tough comp to play out from behind.
Yeah, exactly, Stress. And even though we saw them had some good engages, because they did have some good engages with the Rakan and the Yasuo follow-up, it was just not enough, as you said. Right? Like, they were just too behind. You cannot kill a Darius with a death stance, with that combo. It's just not gonna work.
No, especially when the Darius is just like ends up really far ahead after the first few minutes. I think what Team Dark did, pushing up into top lane, denying Acolyte experience, I think in theory works. But Andre was just like, I don't care. I'm just going to farm up my jungle and then invade you from it. So makes that work really well. Play of the game coming up. There's a couple it could be. I kind of hope it's the Joey double steal, the double kill one. Yeah. That's satisfying as hell when that happens.
That one was very satisfying. And it is, yeah. And I like, just for this one, let's just put our eyes on Joey. So the people won't miss it, okay? So take a look at Joey. He activates his second ability and boom! Just destroys Mario and Sync with one blow. And it's always nice to see Varus do things like that, Stress. You know, an Acolyte, wow. Completely decimating the Yasuo as well, and just very clean fight from Team Queso overall. And then to follow it up as well, Acolyte doesn't let 201 run away, and then Joey and Acolyte both get the final kill. Just a very clean performance by Team Queso right there, just as we saw in that team fight, and that was hella satisfying.
Yeah, satisfying double kill from Joey with 1 arrow. And that Proto Belt flash apprehend combo was satisfying as well. Like whenever I'm trying to do that, I always bungle one of them and end up flashing the other way. So like watching that go off perfectly is exactly what you want to see. Big surprise as we head to break. Team Dark have the selection for side, and they've opted into blue side once again for our second game of the series. We'll see whether it pays off this time. 1-0 currently for Team Queso. We'll go into game 2 when we come back.
Frozen over, stuck in time, out of breath in my mind. Is this how it will be when you promise this, you and me? Could it be us? Could it be us till forever? Till forever, forever us? Could it be us? Could it be us till forever? Forever, say you'll be mine. Say that you will, say that you will. Say you'll be mine. Say that you will, say that you will. You will always be the deepest part of me. Heavy hearts healed in time. night breathes fire. Your eyes so bright. The dark will guide us through the night. Bye, bye, my love. I'll shine for you.
You ready?
Welcome back, everybody, to the WREC, where we are going into Game 2 between Team Dark and Team Queso. And I think we basically kind of assumed what was going to happen going into the game. I think the result was way more one-sided than either of us were expecting.
Yeah, it was very one-sided. I already put a lot of favorite on Team Queso's draft, but I did think Team Dark would put up a bit of a better fight. And I still think they will in the next game, Stress. I truly believe they will. It was just a bit of a wake-up call, to be honest. Right? Like, okay, we cannot just pick Ziggs like that. And we cannot just think that if we get Ziggs, Rakan, and then put a Yasuo with it for an ultimate combo that we're just gonna win. No, Team Queso is just gonna counterpick that and play their game plan and just win the game.
And Team Queso always just we'll play our game plan and we'll win the game. And we've seen it work out quite often for them. It works quite well. Let's take a look at what Stuart has to think, or has to say about his thoughts on game 1 from these two teams.
Thank you very much, Stress. Yes, we're going to be firstly talking about that first to pick priority. I feel like Ziggs was a little bit of a bait from Team Queso. They were like, okay, you pick the Ziggs, and we're going to pick the Ziggs and the not the Ziggs, sorry, the Gragas and the Varus, because Varus still does really, really well against Ziggs in the laner phase and still does perfectly fine in team fights. So I feel like going into game number 2, Team Dark might have a different first pick priority. When we got into the game, there was a lot of early game rotations from Team Dark trying to shut down Acolyte in the early game, but it didn't really work out for them. As Stress said, Andreas was just able to farm the jungle, and because he realized that Sync was so far behind, he was able to invade, get that early game lead, and even though Acolyte was a little bit far behind, he's still on a Darius, he's still on a champion that he knows how to play. He just builds a little bit of tank and he's able to finish off Ellie and the rest of Team Dark. And now Team Dark have one last chance. This is it. This is do or die for them now. If they have one more chance, they're going to be on the blue side, which is quite interesting. I feel like Team Dark are a little bit better on the red side, but maybe they have a different game plan going into game number 2. So if Team Queso wins, they book their tickets to Barcelona, but I think Team Dark still have one more thing up their sleeve. Back to Stress and Helps.
The amount of things that Team Dark have had up their sleeves, they have really big sleeves. Anyway, I mean, the Team Dark on the blue side, I think we've seen a couple of things still work on the blue side. If I'm not mistaken, I think the Seraphine Ashe game they picked blue side, but I feel like Team Queso will just be prepared for it and make sure that they leave one of their matchups, like solo lane matchups, like they did in the last game, and just said, okay, well, Acolyte's Darius is available, so let's just take that, and that basically allows us to see the entire comp and then go, okay, you're full melee range, perfect. We'll just draft a Darius into it. So I think Queso are prepared in my mind.
Yeah, and the problem that you have as Team Dark, you just can't ban away all of the power picks from Team Queso. They have way too many, right? Like Team Dark tried to ban out Andres as power picks, basically completely ignoring anyone else. They put Vegas on the Gragas, Acolyte on the Darius, and still Andres on the Kha'Zix, who absolutely hard carried the game. So the problem that you have as Team Dark, you just can't ban away those power picks, Stress.
Yeah, that's very true. One thing we didn't touch on in game 1 that I think is useful to touch on is the fact that Yuumi, Masi, and I believe Zed are all globally banned, as there are some issues on the latest patch that are still getting fixed out. So that does reduce at least the Yuumi that we've seen from Team Queso. I think they're an even more deadly team when that's available as well. We saw that on Yuumi release before even the Yuumi buffs came through. Karma just released, she's overtuned, she's banned. Shen, not going to see much priority, if any at all, because just not particularly strong right now in the meta. The Gragas has gone, though. That's the big talking point now coming into game 2. No first rotation Gragas on red side.
Yeah, exactly. And even though Team Dark has the first pick, it seems like they don't really put any priority on Gragas. And I would think that they don't have any heavy Gragas players because of that. Because banning away Gragas as on the blue side is a bit of a questionable thing for me. But of course, you don't want to see Vegas on it. Because even though last game it didn't go as well, we know what Vegas can do on Gragas. And I'm sure Team Dark knows it as well. And they know that it's worthy to ban. So this leaves up a lot of picks. And they actually start off with the Galio pick.
Okay, so that does a few things, right? It reduces the impact of Rakan. It gives you the opportunity. I mean, there's no Camille Galio available, but it does give a potentially Juicy or one mid the ability to take that Galio. Now, Team Queso, Xin Shao's up. The Akali you mentioned, I believe, it was the other ban in the last game. So we may see Veos pick that up fairly early on in this draft. It's so early on that it's first rotation on red side.
But against the Galio as well, Stress. Vegas is like, he knows that he's so good at Akali that he even picks it against the Galio, who is effectively one of the hardest Akali counters in the game, Stress. I find it very interesting. Like, Just you really pick Akali this early in the draft and also against one of your counters?
And the fact that we've seen people playing like Twisted Fate into Akali as well. We've seen a couple of matchups that even if this Galio is down in the support role, there are a few other matches that can work against it. Varus comes through for Joey as Rakan. That is going to be a Galio mid lane then, with a Rakan locked in as well. So that's a lot of teamfight power already coming through. The taunt, plus also the Rakan. That's a Xayah. We're going into 80 carry meta. Okay, Xayah Rakan, very strong duo. This is a very early pickup on the Xayah. I mean, Xayah can do fairly well into Akali, I suppose. The ultimate plus also the Blade Caller, or whatever it's called.
And she gets more shielding from Rakan. Because that's the combo. Xayah Rakan, she gets more shielding. And there it is, right? The Xin Zhao pick, an incredibly strong jungler in the hands of Andres as well. And you know, the beauty of Xin Zhao is he's one of the strongest early game junglers, Stress. And put it in the hands of Andres, that's going to be a good show.
And especially with Joey's Varus, we just saw a good performance on this pick. Xayah needs time in the game to scale up. She needs items. She needs to play for the later game, whereas Varus is ready at that first objective. He's going to be hitting you with piercing arrows, and that Xin Zhao will be able to follow up too. With an Akali, that's a very strong first set of fights if they can get them to work. Braum taken away to try and reduce a little bit of the disengage potential perhaps from Team Queso. Lee Sin going to be removed from Team Dark to try and take away some of their jungle fighting in the game.
Yeah, and it makes sense that they're taking away the Lee Sin and the Kazakhs. Those are one of those junglers that work very well against the Xin Zhao. But that does leave the Graves open, Stress. And Graves is one of those picks that works very well into the Xin Zhao, although he does struggle a little bit into the Akali and the Varus. And that's why I think Team Queso has decided to left open the Graves. Alistar Ben against Methanol. Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah,
they've also picked away his Galio.
So I'm like, where do you go? Do you go to Leona? Do you go Nami? Something like that? Okay, because even though Nami's not an engaged support, the Wave does a similar role, right? In these early team fights, all you needed to do is hit one or two people, and it does an equivalent thing.
But Stress, the thing that happened now for Team Queso, and what I believe is the drafting plan for Team Dark as well, is to deny these ganking junglers, Stress, right? Like they've picked the Galio, they've picked the Rakan, they banned the Braum, who's good at ganking, and they banned the Alistar, who's also a good ganking champion. So that doesn't leave any other champions open that are so good at ganking. You know, you talked about the Leona, a Rengar, wow! We're seeing a Rengar.
That's Rengar. I'm assuming it's going to be jungle. We have seen one Rengar previously. I want to remember if it was Team Dark, but I can't. We've seen it once in European competitive, and it was successful in that game. But Rengar, we don't see it very often because you have to get ahead with Rengar and you have to stay ahead with Rengar. And up against an early game jungler like a Xin Zhao who can be in the lanes like you're talking about, removing those roaming supports may very well take away from it. Actually, roaming support, one that was available with Thresh.
Thresh was
available. Was up and available if they wanted it.
Interestingly, Methanol did not pick the Thresh. And now they go for the Wukong. That's another one of those tankier champions that can do pretty well into the Rengar, but I like this bold move against Thresh. This is the bold moves that we're expecting from Team Dark. This is the draft that we expect. The crazy Rengar pick. Man, is this gonna work? Is this not gonna work? It's a very high-risk pick as well, as you said, especially because of the way that Rengar works. You have to get kills or assists to get that bonus damage, because every kill and assist that he gets gives him 5% bonus damage. So that's a possible 25% bonus damage that he gets if he is able to get 5 unique takedowns. So is he gonna be able to get that against that strong early game jungler from Team Queso? Now that's the real question, Stress.
That is a good question. Stuart with the clutch save on who exactly played the Rengar. It was Zero Zone's Lubunya played the Rengar in the WREC main event. So they did win that game, but that wasn't Team Dark. That obviously was a different team. And I feel like there's some other weaknesses in this lineup. Now, Team Dark have a really good composition when it comes to like protecting and playing around Xayah in the late game. They're going to need this Rengar and Darius to get them to the late game, right? It's like Rengar jumps in with the Galio on top of it. That's what they're going to need to work out earlier on.
You know, exactly. That is indeed probably the only weakness that they really have. It's that they have a late game comp. And we know what Team Queso can do in the early game. We know that Andres knows the exact same thing that we know right now, and he's going to be invading, right? Like on that Xin Zhao, he's going to be invading. He's going to be playing aggressive. He's going to be ganking. He's going to be forcing the first objectives. He's not going to shake hands. Like, this is going to be a rough game from Team Darkstars, and they have to somehow, some way, pull off some crazy early game fights as well, because you cannot just wait for the late game against a team like Team Queso. They'll take everything. They'll invade your jungle. They'll take everything. So it's going to be very interesting to see how Team Dark is going to be approaching this game, Stress.
Very interesting, very different setup. I mean, we've come to expect Team Dark picking some different things, and this is a very different look for what we've seen a whole lot of. As we go into the game, I think the one thing you always have to be careful with Rengar is where you choose to fight him. And while 64% of our audience are backing Team Queso, there's always the opportunity for Rengar to jump out of a bush and kind of just take down a low health target. And it's happened again. The swap is coming through. They've gone Mario to Rakan, Juicy going on to the Xayah. Mario already forced to flash, but the damage put down in response onto Joey. However, you're playing up against Varus in the early game. You cannot afford to sit in lane after level 2 with this kind of low health, because one of those empowered keys could very well do it if they end up skilling that level 2.
Eleggy goes for the hook as well, which he should win the trade against Acolyte. And yeah, I mean, they're both just a bit low. So the thing I want to talk about is one mid on that Galio. And I don't think I'm going to have time to talk about it because Andres and Sync are they're both looking for blood right here, Stress.
Yeah, Sync did take out that ward. Andre knows exactly where he is because of it, though, and will sweep out a ward of his own. I think that's going to basically call the end. I think you should have enough time as bot lane's recalling.
Yeah, exactly. And Andres is not taking any risks, right?
Oh,
because
I say that actually. I'm so sorry I baited you. I thought Methanol's recall was going to complete, and so did he, because he's taken down for first blood.
And that is huge. And one mid fighting Vegas as well. Unfortunately, Vegas missing his third ability on Akali, but this is huge for Team Dark Stress. That's what we talked about. They have to somehow, some way, find a way to get ahead in the early game. And Andres is going to be looking for this gank on Aleki, although no, he's not. He's just invading the jungle, taking away some of it. But Methanol is struggling on the bot side.
Yeah, Methanol got caught in the jungle against Sync. This is what you do not want to happen against the Rengar, is the Rengar can just continuously invade from here once you're ahead. And on the top side, Eleggy has found Andre, and Andre is going to back away. Actually goes in aggressively on the Xin Zhao. Can't quite get the crowd control to land. Can't quite get the knockup. Eleggy, if they're dragged under the tower, wins this. Andre's going to go in. Why would you go in? That's an uncharacteristic blunder from Andre. No way do you go in on that.
Oh God, Stress. I think we may have a 3-game series right here. Rengar already took 1 kill, which already buffs his damage by 5%. He already has a lot of gold, and Andres is starting to fall behind on an early game jungler. This is it for Team Dark. The start couldn't have been any better than this. And then on top of that, 201 is also ahead on a lane where he shouldn't be ahead in.
Yeah, this is just some mistakes. 2 mistakes at least from Queso. Like recalling in the middle of the lane in vision from Methanol and Joey, and then not reacting to getting caught by a Rakan coming from River. And then Andre going in under tower when you already at half health. Now it's another attempt at the bottom lane. Good Chains of Corruption is going to lock Mario in place. Somebody needs to come in and collect that, and Akali does. It's going to be Veos picking up a kill. This is where Queso really need to put the pressure back on. The Sync, though, has found Joey. He focused him down, jumps out of the bush from the Rengar. This kitty cat has some claws, but it's not quite enough to scratch through as Rengar will fall as Sync forced. It's one mid forced to flash out over the wall, and Team Queso maybe get a little bit more from that than they would have liked, as now Elegy didn't manage to come down for the fight. Team Queso pick up 2.
That was not the best trade for Team Dark right there, but I still want to mention that's another kill for the Rengar Stress. That is another 5% bonus damage. And he's actually going for the Trinity Force. That is a very expensive item, but if he finishes it off, it's a massive power spike. And as we look into this replay, perhaps a bit too far for Mario, because a beautiful Chains of Corruption from Joey Skaggs forces him to take a lot of damage from the third, which gave a free kill to Vegas. And right here, like, the fight was not really going too well for Team Dark, but Sync being able to pick off the kill on Joey, yet again, getting that stack. But they didn't really win this fight. Although I want to say Andres did have to use his ultimate. Vegas did have to use his ultimate. And, you know, if a fight happens during the Dragon, Team Dark is going to have more ultimates.
Oh, Veos is, I believe, revealed by the ultimate and will get taken down from Rengar. I didn't see at the beginning of that whether he was, but certainly later on, not really possible for Veos to get out of that one. Lichbane completed for Veos as the first item as Andre takes out the Rift Turret.
absolutely amazing play by Team Dark. And as Andres is trying to look for a fight against Alligator.
I've seen this story before. This time, though, Chains of Corruption is going to hold Elegy in place. Andre playing with fire. If Elegy had got the ult off, maybe there was a possibility to kill him. Dragon goes down to Team Dark.
No stress. Team Dark played this out perfectly. Like, absolutely perfectly. I really want to say it again. Team Dark is really doing what they have to do here. They don't want to fight. They want to shake hands, basically. So what they did is they took the first turret in the bot lane. They took a kill, which yet again gave another stack to the Rengar, by the way, because the kill was on Vegos this time. And they took the dragon. So they're ahead 2,000 gold in a composition that wins in the late game. They have 2 Rod of Ages, which are late game scaling items, and they have the Rengar stars. This is an absolutely huge win for Team Dark.
Yeah, it's a big win. Like, you know, Xayah at some point is going to become pretty much unstoppable and carry team fights solo. With the rest of the comp around it, though, makes it very difficult for Team Queso to go for this. Veus going to try and take this fight as Elegy drops low. Veus has already used the ultimate, but has himself the barrier, has himself the flash, just escapes, knowing he's already taken the summoners from Elegy. As Acolyte maybe the one in trouble now, as Methanaut is top lane. Where is Sync? Sync is in the bush waiting for it. And you can see one mid had drifted up towards top lane with that Galio ultimate available. Now it's going to be mid lane. Joey, you've stepped too far forward, my friend. And that is all too easy to force the flash. Can't quite get the kill, though. And they're going to turn it back around. No way. Oh, the ignite is enough for one mid to pick up the kill. Big pickup is in from the side, goes Acolyte, immediately charmed up, but the bubble is going to hit one, and it's another kill in return. Sync comes out of the jungle. Veos forced to flashes back over and gets himself away, as now it's going to be Andre, gets the ultimate. Aqua Prism lands. It's an overextension by Sync, and some real tricky micro to get Queso a bunch of kills there without really losing too much.
That was a great job by Team Queso being able to get those kills. That was truly what they needed against this composition of Team Dark to get the edge again, to win that team fight. And as we look into this replay, it was a really good catch on Joey's Cax, but the flash was even better, which really forced the Galio, one mid on the Galio, to flash towards Joey and use his ignite and give himself up for it. So it was really not worth it for them. And then right here, we had a beautiful Wukong ultimate from Acolyte, right? Like here, the fight was basically already over. Sync did a great job. And here, yet again, Vegos escaping with 1 HP. And then Andres as well, escaping with 1 HP stress. What a bunch of unfortunate events from Team Dark right there. Just really not being able to get anything out of what was an incredibly close fight, Stress.
Yeah, that fight easily could have gone in Team Dark's favor, but Veos coming out and trying to break people's ankles, trying to flash out over the wall. Perfectly done escape from him, utilizing this Akali first pick exactly how they needed it. Now, it isn't carrying for Veos. He hasn't got a lot of kills and gold, but there's at least enough strength there from Andre, from Acolyte, to be able to play through some of these fights. And considering this game started horrendously for Team Queso, the fact they have a gold lead is a little bit of a miracle on how they fought this. That's a flash, not a flash over the wall. Andre, he just dashes over the wall, connects onto Elegy. Is Elegy now trying to battle his way out of this? Sync is on his way down, as is the Galio. The Galio is here on top of it as Andre picks up the first kill. There's a stasis from Joey, is buying time. He's just kind of a bit of a distraction in this game. Yeah. He's the scapegoat. He's Karibo, and he's just saying, take me out. I'm the distraction. And everybody just jumps on him.
Oh, but Stress, Joey is doing an incredibly good job being the distraction. He has the stasis. Earlier on, he flashed out of the fight, which won them the team fight basically as well. Joey is doing an amazing job, and he indeed needs that early stasis. He indeed needs it, as Acolyte is trying to look for 201.
Yeah, trying to look for 201, but in comes Mario to help out here. Methanaut on the exchange 2. Second part of Cyclone, beautiful Aqua Prism, double knockup. Doesn't even matter about the Blade Caller as Mario. That's not a good position to be in. He's going to try and use the electrocute that he's got, try and put the damage out with that ignite, but it ain't going to be enough for Mario to survive.
And Stress, Anders is actually 2 levels ahead, even though there was a very good early game from Team Dark. This is exactly the position that Team Queso wants to be in, right? Like, they want to be ahead. They don't want to reach the late game as much, because then they know the Rengar is going to win.
What the hell have you got to do to get Andre out of the game? You can ban 7 bans. You can try and pick an early game invading champion like Rengar and really screw him up. But he's just going to be ahead and go in. Chains of Corruption lands. A third of the health bar's already shredded down off the side of Team Dark. And somehow, some way, Team Queso are finding the fights to end this. And there's the piercing arrow not quite connecting. I thought it was about to pick up Elegy as Andre has dropped low. He's out of mana. He's nearly out of health. left, but it doesn't stop Queso. The Rift Herald charges, they put damage on the tower, and miraculously, nobody has died, but Queso get the Rift Herald charge.
Everyone was so low in Team Queso. How are they not dying? This is the second team fight already. Just everyone escaping at 1 HP. And I love these stasis pickups from Team Queso Stress, because stasis is one of those items that absolutely hard counters Rengar. Because Rengar basically one-shots an enemy, but 3 of the people from Team Queso already have a stasis enchant. The Xin Zhao, the Akali, and the Varus. He's not going to be able to one-shot the Wukong, so he's basically forced to go on the Nami.
Yeah, this time stasis forced out. I believe that's Joey that was forced. There's the dark up though, with the tidal wave on top of it. Might buy enough time for Team Queso to take the second half of this fight. Andre is just ripping apart Juicy on this Xayah, as now Sync forced to run away. That's a scaredy cat after a great early game, as it's a double kill. 4 kills on the board, and my god, Queso with this composition today have not played around at all. They've turned a disastrous early game, and they are pretty much going to win this game. It feels like this game is already done.
I can't believe that Team Queso is dominating this much right now after that early game. It's absolutely incredible to see how a team like Team Queso can just pick the game right back up after that early game, know exactly how to win against this Rengar matchup with the stasis and chance, of course, and just dominate the game. As you can see, like if we put our eyes on the Rengar, which is Sync, he's not doing anything. He's just walking, you see? Like just look at Sync right there. Throughout the entire fight, he was just walking, and then he flashed over the wall trying to escape, and then he dies off. Meanwhile, Andres was just shredding the composition of Team Dark. Absolutely no mercy, just destroying everyone. So this is where we can see why the Rengar just doesn't get picked up as often, Stress.
Andre is 8-1-9, and this game started with him tower diving and dying against the Darius, and we were like, well, that's probably the game. We're going to game 3. Like Queso have blundered this early game, but Jesus, he just dominated Juicy in that fight. Like found him immediately, stuck on him, and it's just like, nope, I'm going to win this fight single-handedly, while the rest of his team is just buying time. Like there's no real way, without Elegy going off on in a fight, there's no real way of Team Dark denying that kind of rampage in the backline by taking out multiple people from Queso. Like Andre's just too far ahead.
Andre is too far ahead, right? Like he has the Death's Dance as well, which we know how tanky it makes a champion like the Xin Zhao. And Vegos is trying to look for something, but I want to talk about Acolyte as well. He actually went for the Hole Breaker, so we can see Acolyte fighting in the bot lane while the rest of the team is fighting in the mid lane.
Andre is going to be the one. I cannot believe that this game started with Team Dark having such a lead, and now they're getting run out of their own jungle. And we're only 12 minutes in. It's not even like this is a late game comeback. This has just been superb fighting from the side of Team Queso, and they're going to back away for a moment. 20 seconds until the Baron spawns. Maybe we get a little bit of a slowdown on this game. As long as Queso all recall, this will basically slow us down.
Yeah, and Acolyte is not gonna... I think Acolyte is not gonna go to the Baron. He's just gonna be split pushing with that Hole Breaker, and I believe he must have teleport and chance. Oh, and as I say that, Acolyte Vagos gets caught.
Yeah, he will be able to hop back out over the wall, use both summoners in order to get there. That's a big thing, though, because if he'd have died there, I think that would have opened up Team Dark's opportunity to force another fight around that Baron, whereas now Team Queso can kind of, again, buy the time for Veos to get back, set up around the Baron. Elegy is going to tag Andre.
Can't do anything.
I don't know whether they want this fight, though. Don't even get the knock-up, and Andre is going to take this fight. Double Aqua Prism is going to land. Sync jumps forward. He's just all in on Joey, and Joey is not any reason to carry this game. He doesn't need to. It's a legendary Andre performance, and it feels like Team Dark have been baited constantly into this Xin Zhao. They have been baited to fight at all points in the game, and Acolyte has been in the bot lane this entire time.
Yeah, it was a 4 versus 5. Like at this point, Team Queso is just running over the composition of Team Dark. It's over, right? Like it's over. You're just never gonna reach the late game anymore. They've wasted their opportunities. Team Dark has wasted opportunities, and now they're gonna be losing inhibitor turrets. They're gonna be losing Barons, although they're gonna be looking for a desperate player.
Andre is here. That Hull Breaker dropped, and I was like, uh-oh, that's a bad sign.
It's over already.
3 cannon minions in the bottom lane should be enough to allow them to at least push the inhibitor and then go through to the mid lane. I was gonna say they could take it, but with the respawns coming through, we are a little too early. It's Baron time, though, for Team Queso.
Yeah, it's Baron time. They don't even have to. Like, they don't even have to. They are gonna do it, but like even if they don't, like, yeah, exactly. Like, it doesn't seem like they're doing it. They can do whatever they want. They don't have to take risk, Stress.
Elegy's got caught. Elegy's going to be dropping here. There's no real way out. Long-range tidal wave is going to sweep through Team Dark. One mid doesn't quite get caught by Andre in that. There's a knock-up. None of this really matters for the side of Team Dark anymore. They are fractured, they are fragmented, and they are unfortunately on the verge of being eliminated from the last chance qualifiers.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. We really thought Team Dark could make it happen after that early game. But now Andres, 4,000 gold lead. Joey Skaggs, who seems to be the bait, is not even behind. And it's just it's just crazy, right? And as we look into this replay, you just can't do anything against the Xin Zhao anymore. Andres is just way too tanky. This is the replay that we saw, right? Like where Team Dark tried to catch out Andres, but then just completely got decimated themselves. And then the ultimate from the Nami just hitting everyone, completely slowing down the composition of Team Dark. It was just a desperate fight. That doesn't work. And you have another fight.
There's already Sync dead in this fight. Stasis once again forced out as Mario jumps in. This was about as good as it was going to get to start it. But look at who is still picking up kills. Andre picks up one. One goes over to Nami, and Joey picks one up as well. It's all Team Queso. It's all about making it to their home stage in Barcelona as Queso are trying to push through the bottom lane, trying to end this game. It's not just to try, it's going to be everything they need. Team Queso will 2-0 their way past Team Dark and book their tickets to Barcelona.
Unbelievable performance right here. This is the Team Queso that we know, just dominating Team Dark right there. Only had a few minor slip-ups, but very, very easy victory right there. 2-0. Very easy, no real stress, no real sweats, and it was just a victory for them.
I can't believe in that way that the 3 kills started, and I was like, well, Rengar's going to snowball, like everything is going to go really well. And then I feel like there's just this turning point when Andre was like, okay, we can get a couple of small kills in the jungle and then take some fights. And from there, Sync, about 4 fights in a row, tried to all-in Joey when the rest of his team's just dying, and Joey isn't even the one dealing the damage to the team. Like, he's not the threat in this composition. But there's no real way of dealing with the rest of them.
Yeah, exactly. Like Team Dark's plan was to just assassinate Joey or assassinate Methanot on the Nami. Just assassinate someone. But then Team Queso had an instant response to it with the Stasis and Chance, right? Like you go in with the Rengar, you do your all-in combo with your ultimate, you jump, but then a Stasis gets used and you're just being left there like a tiny kitten, not being able to do anything anymore. You're not going to be looking as scary as Rengar does in some situations.
Yeah, meanwhile, in the back line, like Andre 4 shots your AD carry, and you're like, all right, okay, I guess that's what we're supposed to do with this. Like, go next? No, not really an opportunity. Like this fight that we're watching was perhaps the most egregious example of that, where like Sync's just running through the bush. And I know as a Rengar, you actually don't have a lot of options. That's one of the reasons why we don't see Rengar, is he basically needs to assassinate the primary carry so the rest of his team can then just win the fight. And if you can't do that, there's no real way of utilizing him in any other way. He's purely a pick jungler like that. And it just did not work against his composition that, as you said, you buy Stasis, you survive through, he falls off and has no more impact on team fights.
Yeah, and that's exactly what happened, right? Like he was doing very good in the early game, but up against the Xin Zhao, 12 on 1 on 13 stresses. That's can we just nerf Andres? Like honestly, this is unfair. Andres is possibly the best jungler in Europe. He was definitely the best jungler in Europe last year, and I think he may as well have the title for this year as well, even though Team Queso may not be the strongest team in Europe yet. I'm saying yet because I think they may be in Barcelona, because they are going to Barcelona right now. I think Andres is the strongest jungler in Europe.
Yeah, I think it's certainly an argument to be made. I think absolutely Jesus, that damage. Absolutely, like the amount of resources he gets, that's insane.
Don't stress, that is insane. Sorry for cutting you off, but that is absolutely insane. As Xin Zhao with some tank items as well, because he went for the Divine Sunderer and then the Death Stance as well, which is not necessarily full damage, just casually deals 35,000 damage, just casually deals more than double the damage Joey dealt. It's just a casual thing for Andres.
I'm kind of glad that was the way it played out, because I was really hoping we wouldn't see like Joey dealt like 30k damage, so that then like, okay, well maybe the Rengar still needs to jump on the Varus. No, you get the absolute idea of how that game needed to play out by that. Here's how the gold graph looks, and you know, you'd think, wow, that 7-minute comeback was really strong by Team Queso, but I feel like they were already coming back into the game before that. It's like Team Dark didn't even feel like they were that far ahead past about the 4-minute mark to me, and it's a little bit sad for Team Dark. I've enjoyed what they've brought to the tournament. I've enjoyed their unique picks. I've kind of always felt, though, that against these teams that have a very clear identity and know what they're doing, the likes of Gamelord and Rix and now Queso, that's where I feel like this kind of adaptation, different picks just doesn't have the same strength, because Queso didn't care. They couldn't care what you brought to this game. They're just going to play how they do, and Andre's going to smash you.
Andre is gonna smash you indeed, but even though he's playing the Xin Zhao, even though he loses the early game with the Xin Zhao, it really doesn't matter. Andre is Andre. He's gonna pick the game right back up and make that one screw up the only screw up that he'd get, because after that one screw up, he just got 12 kills straight in a row.
That's true, actually. I hadn't even thought about that. Yeah, it was 12 kills in a row. Play of the game. Which of the 12 kills is going to be play of the game? It's probably not going to be his dive in the beginning of the game.
I don't know what it's going to be. There are so many plays that it's going to be. It's one of the mid-game plays. Oh, that's the one where Joey baited. Yeah. This is actually a really good one, because this one where we didn't give Joey enough credits. I tried to give him enough credits, but he didn't get it, because he was the one that initiated the fight with the stasis, really, or with the flash away. Like, he flashed away. Galio wasn't able to kill him. Galio was forced to flash after Joey, uses Ignite, kill himself as well. And this was the fight where they basically won because of that. Like, they just weren't able to kill Joey. And we saw the start of the bait. Right? This was the start of the bait of the Joey game.
Yeah, this is where Joey's like, wait, I couldn't be more useful pretending to die than I'm going to be trying to deal damage. I don't need to deal damage. And that I think is one of the things about watching Team Queso that is very clear, is they understand who needs to carry and where those resources need to go. There doesn't seem to be fighting over it. There's no like difference between games. Like Queso have this very clear understanding. Joey doesn't need to carry. You don't need to have an ego in that moment. Being the bait in that situation and surviving is everything you need to do to allow Andre to come through and go 12-1 off that and just carry the game super hard. And we have an interview with, I believe it's with Elke, the coach of Team Queso. Yeah. Looking forward to hearing more now that the Barcelona slot has been secured. Stu, let's hear what Elke has to say.
Thank you very much, Rest. Yes, I'm indeed joined by Elke. Elke, congratulations. You have booked your spots in Barcelona. Not secured yet in terms of, the group stage or the play-ins, but how do you and the team feel after that victory?
Actually, we are feeling real well. I think it was a challenge that we needed to overcome. We could play to ourselves today. I feel we felt much comfortable. We felt in a very good zone, honestly, on like how we were playing. Like, obviously there are some mistakes and there are a lot of stuff that we need to improve still, but we feel in a much better spot mentally and as a team in general. So feeling really well about this, and we're gonna give it all.
Awesome stuff. And as a coach, having a player like Andre in your team, I have to mention him because he had an absolutely amazing performance. We could just ignore that little tower dive in the early game. I'm sure you'll realize that was a mistake. But as a coach, how good does it feel to have a player like Andre and a confident player like Andre in your team?
It's always nice to have a player like him. He can fulfill every role. I think every single player that we have at TQ right now has had a different role and a different part of the success, basically, that obviously it's not the one that we wanted, but it's the one that we're getting right now. And what's important is we're going to Barcelona and we have time to prepare and getting to land and getting a lot of time to actually improve. But I feel like every player has been super important in this road, and everyone needs to keep evolving and keep improving for us to actually get the championship.
Yeah, for sure. And for yourselves, even though you booked your spot in Barcelona, you still got one, potentially two more series tomorrow as well. You will be playing the loser of WREC.GG against Formulation, which is our next series of the day. Just want to get your quick opinions on that and who you think will come out on top.
I think they can both come on top, to be honest. Formulation has given a lot of problems to WREC in the past. I think they both are really good teams. I honestly think that WREC right now at this point is just better, but I think anything can happen for the LAN event, especially with all the pressure and all the things that will be happening there. I think it will be a hard road, but yeah, we can face anyone.
Awesome stuff. And I know there's a lot of Team Queso fans out there as well. And obviously you will be playing in Barcelona in your, you can call it home country as well. So if you've got anything to say to all the Team Queso fans out there before we go.
It will be the same as I always say. I think Queso Proud is the only way to describe to them, and they know what it always means. And it was like that all year long last year as well. So thank you.
Awesome stuff. LK, congratulations to getting Barcelona. Good luck tomorrow as well in that last best of 3 series, potentially more. We'll head back to Stress and Hells.
Thank you.
Thanks to it. Yeah, I think no surprises there in the interview. Having to work with a player like Andre, I'm sure is a joy, where you're like, okay, we have a lineup in general that can, quickly pivot back to their game plan, as we just saw in this game too. It's going wrong. Okay, how do we do things? How do we resettle? And Andre just gets, once again, given the resources, given the time, and is able to play. I mean, it's no surprise who's going to be MVP. It's like this series is like the easiest MVP for us to call. Both games put on Andre's shoulders, and I'll keep saying this every time with Queso. It'll keep happening for as long as Queso give him the resources. Andre gets MVP. They play for Andre to be the MVP.
I mean, I'm going to be real honest with you. Like 90% of the series that Team Queso plays, Andres has been the MVP.
Yeah,
I believe the other 10% would be the Acolyte. And I'm not taking away anything from the other players.
No.
Like, please don't think that. They have incredible players, but it's just Andres is on another level. Like this guy is beyond amazing on the jungle. Last year as well, right? Like everyone thought Doom was the best jungler. And here he was an incredible jungler, but just Andres showing what he's made of, completely outclassing the seemingly best junglers and doing the same thing this year as well. Just no one seems to have a chance against this guy in the jungle stress.
Yeah, he's set up for success by the rest of the team, and that's what it means really to be a good team. Is everybody knows the way that you're going to be playing. Everybody is on board with it and plays in that way, and that's the thing. Is like, we can only assign one MVP, but there is a lot of respect due to the rest of Queso for playing in a playstyle that enables Andre to put that kind of performance and give Queso a 2-0, a very well-earned 2-0, very good performance from them. I mean, we got a banger coming up next. WREC versus Formulation. One of these teams is going directly to the group stage of Barcelona. We're going to find out who it is when we come back in just a few minutes' time.